Now, it's been described as arguably the most successful Islamic movement in the world, and it runs schools in 130 countries. The Gulen movement has its base in Turkey, where it enjoys powerful friends in government, the media and business. But no one outside the movement really seems to know how it works, and its critics say that anyone who asks awkward questions winds up in jail. My colleague Edward Sturton reports from Istanbul.
There can be few movements that polarise opinion in quite the way the Gulen movement does. This is the kind of thing that earns it admirers, a gleaming new school complex which has just been completed in the suburbs of Istanbul. It offers first-class teaching, the sort of pastoral care you'd expect at a very expensive British boarding school, and state-of-the-art facilities.
What's that? Yeah, I mean, the lesson has just finished. So this is the bell for the Beethoven's Ode to Joy for the end of lessons.
Alpa Duraci teaches English here. He explained the mix of academic excellence and old-fashioned values that makes it so popular with parents.
In our school, there are no teachers who are divorced. We live in a strong family relationship. And also, we never drink alcohol, we don't smoke. We do sports with them all the time. We try to be cool and calm and patient most of the time.
Many of the students here are fee-paying, but scholarships for bright children from poor backgrounds are a big feature of Gulen schools. They began in Turkey, but they've now spread everywhere from Kazakhstan to Texas. There's even one in Britain. Fethullah Gulen, the man behind it all, believes in creating a golden generation to build a better future. Fethullah Gulen established his following as an imam in the 1970s and 80s. He was famous for crying during his sermons when he was powerfully moved by some great world event. His interpretation of Islam seemed tailored to meet the realities of the modern world. It's forward-looking and open to Western influences. But in 1999, a video surfaced in which Mr. Gulen appeared to be urging his followers to, and I quote, move within the arteries of the system without anyone noticing your existence until you reach the centres of power. He was charged with trying to undermine the state and left for America. He was later cleared in absentia, but he's never been back to Turkey and still lives in Pennsylvania today. The movement he left behind is almost impossible to define. No one has a membership card and there's no central organisation, but it's huge. Jamal Uşak is a prominent supporter.
My personal view is that it would be numbered in millions. Some people say 5 million, some people 6 million, some people 7 million. But the level of involvement would differ.
I know that quite a lot of the giving is done when a businessman will sponsor a scholarship and so forth, but do you have an overall picture of how much charitable giving there is to Gulen movement-related institutions?
I've never been curious about this number, because the movement's active in 130 countries. An American academic found that businesses that support the movement donate between 5 and 20% of their profits each year to the movement.
So we're talking about certainly millions of dollars, possibly billions of dollars.
I think.
The movement also controls a big media group which publishes Zaman, one of Turkey's most successful national newspapers. The paper's been a strong supporter of the Islamically inspired AK party, which is likely to win another term in office at next month's election. But Gulen supporters deny they want to see more religion in politics. Like almost everyone else on the staff, the senior journalist Kerim Balci is a fervent supporter of the movement, or Hizmet as he prefers to call it.
We are completely secular on political issues. We believe that if religion involves into politics, this corrupts both of them.
That's fascinating, and it does take us to the whole question, which I think puzzles many people, of what Hizmet is, what inspires it, what sort of society it wants to create, I suppose.
Well, first of all, Hizmet does not have a project about the society. We have a project about individual. We believe that good individuals create good society, but we don't know what kind of a society those good individuals that will be educated through Hizmet institutions will create.
But many of the journalists at this press convention in Istanbul believe the relationship between the Gulen movement and the government is dangerously close. This meeting was called to sound alarm bells about a crackdown on press freedom, and there have been some high-profile cases of journalists who wrote about Gulen and suddenly found themselves being arrested in connection with a terrorism investigation called Ergenekon. Farai Tunç is one of the organisers of the convention.
We have two friends, two journalists, very prominent investigative journalists. They were arrested with the pretext of the relation with the Ergenekon case. But the main reason is that they have written articles and books against the Gulen movement. So we know that it's not easy in Turkey now to talk against the Gulen movement.
The cautionary tale that's done the most serious damage to the Gulen movement's reputation in Turkey is the humbling of İlhan Cihana, once a successful and popular state prosecutor. He began investigating local supporters of the Gulen movement operating on his patch in eastern Turkey for, among other things, alleged financial irregularities. Suddenly he found that he was himself facing accusations of criminal conspiracy. He says the movement has infiltrated the police and the justice system.
Mitin düzenleyip dönemin başbakanına
Anyone who opposes the movement faces obstacles. Those who support it are promoted. In my opinion, the movement is less driven by faith and religion than by political and economic interests. They're not really worried about religion. They want power, and the colour of that power doesn't matter to them.
Is the Gulen movement a Muslim version of the big society, a perfect marriage of private philanthropy and private enterprise for the general good? Or is it a sinister conspiracy to move within the arteries of the system to secure state power? Some of those who studied it closely think it could be a bit of both.
And you can hear Edward Sturton's documentary Islam Inc. at 8 o'clock on Tuesday night here on Radio 4. You're listening to Sunday, the time is 7:28. Still to come, Barack Obama tells Israel and the Palestinians the way to go. But does his way protect the Jewish state or imperil it?